We are wrestling.
Olympic hero Kurt Angle, and you're listening to the We Are Wrestling Podcast. We Are Wrestling Podcast.
Hey everybody, Eric Bischoff here, and you are listening to We Are Wrestling Podcast.
You're watching We Are Wrestling.
I'm the host with the most.
You are by far the least intelligent. Stay tuned, listen to the podcast. Best one, Donnie, might teach you a thing or two.
What is going on, We Are Wrestling Maniacs Worldwide? Ben here, one half of the We Are Wrestling Podcast.
If you ain't listening to the We Are Wrestling Podcast, bro, you're missing out. The king listens, and you need to too, bro.
Ricky knows best, ladies and gentlemen. Ricky knows best. Believe in me. God bless you.
We Are Wrestling Podcast.
We are wrestling.
What is up? We are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide. I'm the host with the most, Mr. We Are Wrestling himself, the best one, Donnie, here with...
The co-host with the most, Ricky knows best. Shout out to We Are Wrestling. Shout out to the best one, Donnie, and shout out to Uncle Ben.
That's right. So unfortunately, guys, this week for the We Are Wrestling Podcast, Ben is unfortunately unavailable, but what better way to have somebody than Ricky Knows Best here at Best One Studios with me to cover this week's episode. But before we get into all the good stuff, if you're not We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, and you're listening to the podcast, give us a 5-star review, not just any review, a Best One review, and download the episode. Also give us a follow wherever you're listening to this. And if you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already over on the YouTube channel, and you're not a part of the thousands of subscribers, we recommend you to hit that subscribe button now, turn on the post notifications. Videos be coming out of nowhere like an RKO, and of course you already know, the grind is real. So, Ricky, I gotta ask you, man, how has it been the last couple weeks? Because the last time we saw you was WrestleMania watch-along.
It's been a good last few couple of weeks. Just been getting things together, just been focusing on life. Just blessed that I'm still here and blessed to see another day. God bless. It's fortunate, man.
Hell yeah, and I also gotta ask you too, because there's been a lot of things going on the last couple weeks since the new era in WWE, and one of those things that Ben and I covered last week on the We Are Wrestling Podcast was the all-in footage that happened. I want to know your thoughts on that.
In my opinion, that was disrespectful. The AEW, right? That was a very disrespectful thing to do. I don't know if it was clout chasing or just being petty, but I think that was unnecessary. AEW, you guys took a really big L with that one. Took a really big L, and I think that's a bad way to show professionalism as an organization.
And you see, that's like one of the big problems that I have, Ricky, with AEW. I love it. I am behind it because at the end of the day, we need AEW for pro wrestling to continue to strive. I always say this, if WWE, they would not be in this new era if it wasn't for AEW launching, because competition brings out the best in everybody. And it's just so disappointing when Tony Khan, time after time, just doesn't understand what he's doing, because he has a talented roster. I bet WCW wish they had the roster that Tony Khan has right now.
Facts.
Because if he really wanted to compete with WWE, he can. But he just keeps letting his ego get in the way of it, and it's so disappointing. Which I do want to let all the Maniacs know that tomorrow, Sunday, I will be doing a live watch along for AEW Dynasty. I really hope they can pick up the momentum because the last couple weeks, it has been a headache watching AEW because of what happened. So disappointed in Tony Khan releasing the footage. I don't care if it involves a storyline with FTR and Young Bucks. I don't care. Made the company look horrible.
Took a big L with that one. I hope that's the last time that AEW does something like that. Tony Khan, you should know extremely better than that. Like, that's really petty of you. And the guy that gave you your first $1 million in that company. Like, you should show more respect than that. Despite all your differences and stuff, and fearing for your life, you should need to think that, yeah, you heard about that, right? He was fearing for his life and safety. But there was nothing on that footage that made it scary. Let's just get going.
Let's just get that. That's like last week. We talked about a lot last week. This week, we definitely have some interesting things to talk about. But Ricky, we always like to start the podcast off with the highlight of the week. What was your highlight of the week in the wrestling world?
John Moxley winning the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship for me.
Hell yeah, I do like that a lot because I know you love New Japan, and we are going to be talking about that during the recap topic a lot more. My highlight of the week, I'm going to have to go with TAMA TONGA debuting in WWE because I really wasn't expecting what we got, and we're also going to be talking about that during the recap. So, with that being said, let's dive into the We Are Wrestling weekly recap for the We Are Wrestling podcast, episode 104. So, starting things off, my highlight of the week. Last Friday, on Friday Night SmackDown, we saw the debut of Tama Tonga, who joined Solo Sikoa and attacked Jimmy Uso. What were your thoughts on his debut? And that's the thing I gotta say, though, before you do give your thoughts, I am very interested because obviously we all know how big of a New Japan guy you are. You're more familiar with Tama Tonga than myself and Ben. So I really do want to hear your thoughts on this.
I love every single second of it. This is the old Tama Tonga a little bit back when the Bullet Club first started a little bit. This is the hungry Tama Tonga right here, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not familiar with his work, go watch it on New Japan Pro Wrestling World right now. This is the Tama Tonga that's been missing for years since he left Bullet Club. Prior to that, but on top of that, I think him and Solo teaming up together, I think they're gonna rock some heads. They're gonna have people notice them in this one right here, and I hope it leads to the old school bloodline versus the new generation that's coming up. Because I did hear a few rumors on a few other guys coming over here.
Jacob Batu.
Yep, a few other guys coming over here joining the bloodline. It could be a bloodline civil war, and I'm all for it. I'm like, take my money now because I'm all for every single part. And Tama Tonga, man, I hope WWE pushes him right. Like, not just no tag team like he did over to New Japan. He's a tag team specialist, but I'm expecting him to at least be a little bit higher, like pushed a little higher. Even, might call me crazy for this one, even the world title picture, even the world heavyweight title picture, or WWE title picture. Put him in a few things, or the US title. Give him some big feuds, Triple H. He deserves them, man.
Anything is possible with this new era in WWE, and that is one thing that I will never doubt. I gotta say, the way that they executed this debut was fantastic. It was perfect. For somebody to transition from New Japan Pro Wrestling to WWE, the main roster we're talking, because a lot of the times when WWE goes and signs somebody, they will usually start off in NXT. We saw Finn Balor, we saw Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, so many people started. And it's a rare case when somebody does transition from New Japan Pro Wrestling to the main roster. And I think if there's somebody that it makes sense for, it's Tama Tonga. Because I remember years ago with the OG episodes, Danny Huckins, one of my old co-hosts here, he talked about seeing Tama Tonga join the Bloodline and eventually do that. But during the non-Triple H era, I didn't see a realistic possibility of that happening. But I think what they did here was brilliant because I thought Solo Sikoa lost so much momentum the past year after beating John Cena at Crown Jewel. And then going from that to losing 35 matches consecutively. I think having him go on his own, this makes sense. And then you're going to bring in Tama Tonga, and I feel like eventually we're going to be bringing in Jacob Fatu to form this new bloodline that I really think the final boss is behind. And then eventually we're going to get Roman and the Usos back together, and we are going to get a civil war. And I am all for it.
War games, yep. And like I said before about Tama Tonga, man, and I'm going to get back to what you just said. Him going to the main roster, he's got that aura to be a main roster guy. I don't think he needs any more improvement in NXT. I think he's all set to go. Like I said, Triple H, you got to push this man. Push him now, man.
And that's the thing, like, this debut couldn't have been any better. I was super impressed, and I am familiar with some of his Bullet Club stuff because I did pay attention to New Japan and Ring of Honor during that time because I know he is one of the OG members, and honestly, I'm very happy for him because I know he's one of those guys that have never ran away from the grind, so I'm glad that he's finally getting this opportunity, and I guess Carl Anderson was the one that pitched this idea to Triple H because of their match that they had at one of the New Japan shows when he was under WWE contract.
Yeah. Carl Anderson did mention that he did play a big part in that, and I'm actually glad he did because now look what you got. You got a star coming out of nowhere, man. Y'all better start paying attention to Tama Tonga. I'm telling you, man, he's gonna be one of those guys. I wish his brother Tonga Loa would join him though. Would make it even better for the bloodline, but I'm glad Tama Tonga's over there, man. They
were a part of Gorillas of Destiny, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
I actually did get the opportunity to meet both of them at a Northeast Wrestling show back in 2020.
Oh, they were nice guys?
They were super nice. But man, Tama Tonga, I'm so happy for him. I definitely could see him and Fatu probably forming a tag team. I could see them winning maybe the SmackDown tag titles, and then Solo maybe winning like the US or Intercontinental title.
You don't see no...
And just running things.
You don't see no world title for Solo? I think he can do it.
Not yet. Not his time yet. Okay. He's got a lot more to prove.
Okay, I get you. No, I respect that.
But, man, I think that this was a great first impression, and I'm very excited to see where things go from here.
Me too.
Because there's a lot of storyline stuff that's going to be happening. I know last week there's reports that Cody versus Rock is happening at 41, and then eventually 42 it might be Roman versus Rock. So there's years more that we have for this bloodline build, and I'm going to be honest, I am all for it. I am ready.
I'm ready for it too. I'm ready to see where Cody's reign goes too. I'm ready to see how he's gonna bring like prestige back. Cause I'm gonna be honest with you real quick. The WWE Championship, undisputed whatever championship you want to call it, it needs prestige back to it now.
I agree.
It needs a lot of prestige. Like it needs the main event. It needs storylines behind it. It needs to make Cody look strong, just like his pops, even though he didn't win that title, but make him look strong. Like, that championship, it needs a lot of prestige right now. And I hope Triple H doesn't mess it up.
So right now, guys, we're recording this podcast on Friday, a few hours before SmackDown, and I think it's going to be AJ Styles that beats LA Knight and goes against Cody as his first feud. You are with that? You do agree with that?
AJ's my favorite. I'm not being biased because he knows AJ's my favorite. Him, Kenny, and Ospreay, those are my big three. Leon Slater is literally my four, but I got AJ winning tonight too.
And that's the thing. I feel like I just don't see them doing LA Knight versus Cody, two baby faces.
Two of the popular guys on the SmackDown. No, they're not going to do that.
I think somebody's going to cost LA Knight, and then I think we're going to get AJ and Cody for a couple matches.
And people don't notice, you probably notice, but a lot of people don't notice, AJ and Cody have never wrestled each other one-on-one before. But AJ and Cody's father have wrestled back in 2003 in TNA. I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that. But moving on now to our next recap for this week. This past Monday, we saw the return of SHEAMUS. What's your thoughts on it?
I'm going to be honest. SHEAMUS, you you looked a little bit out of it, brother. You looked a little out of shape. You looked good in the ring though, like, but the way you were moving a little bit to me and stuff, Sheamus, you that weight, I think you took a lot more time off than you expect. But you looked good in the ring, like you didn't look like you had any ring rust. It's just you let yourself go a little bit. I'm actually excited to see Sheamus back too, though. I'm not gonna lie. I want to see where he goes from here, and I want to see what's left for him. I want to see if he still can go at that level still.
So I do want to give my thoughts on this because I am a fan of his work. I'm just not a fan of his character. I feel like he's reached his ceiling when he won the WWE Championship against John Cena in 2010.
I think he overachieved. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but everything he's done, he's overachieved. Like, he's won a lot more than assumed that he was supposed to win. Sheamus has had a very good career in WWE. A lot of people don't talk about it, but he's had an underrated career. A lot of wrestlers...
Oh, Hall of Famer.
Yep, a lot of wrestlers would probably want to be in Sheamus' shoes and have his resume right now, if I'm being honest.
And I will say this, I'm not going to say really anything about his transformation with his body gaining a few pounds because... Honestly, Sheamus, he has been dealing with a lot of injuries, and he's always kept himself in very A1 shape throughout his entire career.
I wasn't throwing shots at him.
No, I know that, but I know there's a lot of people in the IWC who have, and that's the people I want to address, because I feel like Sheamus isn't even that big, really.
No.
Like, he's still in shape, he just doesn't have a friggin' 12-pack. He wanted to drink a couple beers. Like, he deserves to give himself a little break.
Yep.
Because a lot of these talent, I feel like a lot of us put pressure on them. And I think not even just wrestling. I think in football, I think especially basketball with Zion Williamson, a lot of people like to put that pressure on him when it comes to weight. I don't think Sheamus really gained that much. It's just different for us to see him with a little bit of a beer belly rather than a 12-pack where he has like 0% fat on him.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just something that we have to adjust to. We're not used to it. I will say I am digging the UFC-inspired gear that he's wearing.
Oh, me too. I caught that. I was a little confused by it at first, but I'm like... Yes.
And that's the funny thing. Like, everybody caught the beer belly first. The first thing I caught was the shorts he was wearing because it reminded me of, like, UFC. He had his logo, and then at the top of it, WWE. I really like that look because I feel like nobody's really doing that in WWE, at least. Mm-hmm. And I think Sheamus... I gotta say, like, I respect that he's trying to do different things. I really hope that this time around, maybe under Triple H, he could pick up some more momentum. I've always been a fan of his work. I'm just not a fan of just his character work. I don't know. I think that maybe we've gotten Sheamus a little too long. Because you have to realize, now we're almost at 15 years of having him on TV consistently.
Yeah, and Sheamus really don't got much left to prove neither, though. Like, he's done everything he's supposed to do, too. Like, it's all set for him. I think, in my opinion, he should go out, like, the only title that he hasn't won after is the IC title. I think he just needs to go at that next. I think he needs to build himself back up again, see where he's at, and then we can see if he can really give us one more official run before he officially hangs it up, because... He's close a little.
And that's the thing, though, too. A lot of people are talking about the weight thing as well, and they don't realize that he also has been dealing with a lot of back and neck issues as well. And when you're somebody that is going to the gym consistently, and you're one of those guys that, you know, is trying to be shredded with, you know, very low % fat, going from those injuries... It's going to be very hard to get back into that type of workouts, which is probably why Sheamus isn't back in the best in-ring or in the physical shape that he's in. But I think that, honestly, the IWC, you guys are fucking dumb, because 99% of us are fucking bigger than Sheamus. Mm-hmm. What? He went from a friggin' waist 32 to a 36. Whoopee.
He still performed. He did good in his return match.
I thought he did great.
He's not bad, but I think he needs to He needs to watch it a little bit. I can't criticize him. I'm not criticizing him because I'm a fan of his work, but the stomach a little bit.
All right, well, moving on now to our next weekly recap for this week. Last weekend at New Japan Pro Wrestling, Windy City Riot, your highlight of the week. Jon Moxley won the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Naito. What's your thoughts on this?
I'm happy and shocked at the same time. I'm happy because Jon Moxley, he's a Japan wrestling mark fan, just like me, low-key. A lot of people don't know that about Moxley, but he respects the New Japan brand. And him winning that championship, the only guy to win the WWE Championship, AEW Championship, and IWGP Championship. And also at the same time, he's been wanting to wrestle for that championship for almost about 3 years now. And him and Naito meeting like that was really, I think Moxley enjoyed every single minute of it, and I think Naito putting him over in that situation, I think that really worked for him. Now I'm shocked. Here's what I'm shocked at, because I've been saying this all week. New Japan, they've lost a lot of stars. New Japan is currently, and people are not going to admit this, New Japan Pro Wrestling is clearly under a power vacuum right now. There are not...
Basketball terms, rebuild.
They're under a power vacuum right now. There's a lot of guys over there that can take over, but nobody's trying to get the reins right now. And I think they're just testing the waters, and fans, New Japan fans, including myself, were eager to see who's really going to take over. Like, which Japanese wrestler over New Japan Pro Wrestling is going to take over? Who's going to step up right now? Like, that's why Moxley winning the belt shocked me, because if you have to have a foreigner or a Gaijin come over and win that championship, that should tell you, New Japan guys, Japanese wrestlers over there that are coming up, you guys aren't ready yet. No disrespect to you guys. Naito was the last one. He is the last one of the four pillars. Okada, AEW. Tanahashi, literally the president. He's literally part-time at this point. Kota Ibushi is AEW, and he's been having his problems with New Japan in the past.
Yeah, I was going to say, where the hell has he been on AEW? I haven't seen him in a long time.
He's literally a freelancer at that point over there. He just comes when Kenny's around or when a big match situation is. And then you got Naito. Naito has stated plenty of times that this might be his last world title run. This might be. And then he said after the match, he's a little mad he lost to Moxley. But he's happy for Moxley at the same time. So you New Japan guys, like, y'all gotta show. Y'all gotta step up now. You letting Moxley come over in your house trying to take over? That says a lot. I'm just saying.
And that's the thing I do have to say here. I feel like they did this because of Forbidden Door 3. Jon Moxley's probably going to keep the championship until then. Go into like a 5-star classic against somebody. Who do you think it could be?
Man, there's a lot. You got Will Ospreay. You got Kenny.
I don't think it's going to be an AEW versus AEW in this case.
Over in New Japan?
Yeah, like who do you think you could see Jon Moxley defending that title against at Forbidden Door?
Oh, okay. I got Sonata, number 1. Number 2, Yota Tsuji, but I don't think he's ready yet. I'm sorry. And then number 3, Shooter Umino. I don't think he's ready yet either. This is what I said when I meant power vacuum struggle. Like, these guys, if Moxley has to hold that championship for you guys to get ready, then I'm all for it. Moxley can hold the championship for a year until you guys are ready, because us fans, there's New Japan fans that watch it, we got to see if y'all really got it. Like, we know y'all can wrestle, but, like, can y'all carry the company like the 4 names I just mentioned, like, several minutes ago? That's the thing I'm talking about the most.
And that's the thing I want to say is I think that this is a great move for Jon Moxley, because I feel like the last few months in AEW, when it comes to creative, when it comes to his direction, there really hasn't been anything for him. And he's just been really falling down the match card. And I think him going to New Japan was a great move to kind of build up more credibility to him, because the last couple of years, since he didn't take that break during the whole all-out brawl, I feel like Jon Moxley has just become very repetitive on AEW TV. Mm-hmm. And I felt like this past Wednesday on Dynamite, for the first time, he actually, like, it felt like he mattered. on TV. And Moxley is supposed to be a household name. He's supposed to be putting asses in seats. He is supposed to be a main event guy. He is, I believe, a 3-time AEW World Champion at this point. And he's also one of the day one guys that showed up. And that's the thing. Like, he's lost a lot of credibility putting other people over, like Eddie Kingston and other guys out there, not really doing much.
I mean, like, just like you said, like...
So I think him getting a little break, going to New Japan Pro Wrestling, is not a bad move at all. And I think once Jungle Bitch comes back, he's going to be picking up some momentum.
And back to Moxley real quick, because New Japan has the G1 coming up in several months. You know the G1, right?
Yep, the G1.
They got the G1 tournament. Now, that's literally their WrestleMania over there. But it's just a tournament. Like, they win a contract in the briefcase, and then they get a title shot at their WrestleMania over there, which is called Wrestle Kingdom. Now,
Wrestle Kingdom's usually in January, right?
I
know that stuff.
If John Moxley has to hold that belt until the Tokyo Dome too, that might be a problem, because even though it's a New Japan, like it's not like a thing like that, but a foreigner going over there headlining, it clearly states that Gato has to do a little bit more around the booking over there. Like, because there has never been a foreigner, Gaijin has never won the main event over at the Tokyo Dome. So John Moxley might make more history there, too.
Oh, so you think Moxley could hold the championship until then?
Yeah, I think he could. If Moxley retains over there at the Tokyo Dome next year, he will be the first person, Gaijin, foreigner, to retain that championship in the Tokyo Dome.
All I know is with John Moxley, there's one thing that I really want him to bring back, and that's the trunks that he was wearing in New Japan. I would love to see Mox bring that look back, because, I don't know, there's just something that Mox needs to do to really get that edge back to him. And honestly, him going to New Japan, I am not against it at all. I think that this is a great move, because over the weekend, last weekend, everybody couldn't stop talking about it. How he was the first person to win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, the AEW World Championship, and the WWE Championship. And now he's starting to get that credibility back that he deserves, especially during an important time, because WrestleMania just happened. Seth freaking Rollins and Roman Reigns were a part of a really big storyline this year. And everybody just keeps talking about them, but they're forgetting about what John Moxley has done. So the fact that I always say timing is everything in pro wrestling, and perfect timing, so that now people are going to talk about him.
Yeah, because y'all gotta give Moxley his flowers, man. Don't give him his flowers in 20 years from now when we probably ain't gonna be here. Give him his flowers now, because if y'all not gonna give him his flowers, and there's something wrong with a lot of y'all. Then y'all claim y'all supporters of John Moxley, but y'all not clearly showing that. Like, and that's not fair to Moxley. Just because he's been a workhorse and doing this thing, and people have been literally messing up, Moxley has to take over. Like, what more do you want from the man? Y'all can't hate on that. Y'all can't. I'm sorry.
What? He's running away from the grind like your boy Will Ospreay.
No. I ain't even gonna get into that.
I'm playing.
I don't know why they said it like that, but
I love to stir the pot. That's one thing, and I do a pretty good job at it. But moving on now to our next recap. This past Monday on Raw, Rhea Ripley unfortunately had to vacate her Women's World Championship due to a shoulder injury. Looks like she's going to be out about 3 months. Who should become the next champion?
I mean, due to the storyline, I think this is like a Karma-like storyline for Liv Morgan, a little bit low-key. She's clearly the option, obviously. I mean, and then she can turn here. This could be a double turn, but with Rhea being in the Judgment Day, how would that work? Because will she be a twiner when she comes back, or will she be a face? Will she defect? Here's what it is for me. Will they kick her out of Judgment Day and put Liv Morgan in? That'll be a little... I was thinking about that all week.
Oh, dude. Wait, can you say that one more time?
They do a double turn. Liv Morgan gets put in Judgment Day, and they kick Rhea Ripley out.
I might get some hate for this. Honestly, I would not mind that happening at all because the crowd has like turned on Liv as a heel, and the
Rhea
crowd
Ripley,
is so behind Rhea. That makes perfect sense.
She's over. Rhea's over right now. Like
And
sometimes it's easy for the heels to get over because of what they do with the baby faces. It's hard for them to get over sometimes.
And I think the obvious choice is Liv Morgan. I know one of my maniacs, day ones, Alex Johnson. He is probably right now really ecstatic for me to say that because I've been burying her for the longest time. But timing is everything, and I'm going to be honest. It would make so much sense to give her the championship so that when Rhea comes back, you have more animosity for that storyline. And I think that this is what Liv needs to really cement her as a main event star in the women's division in WWE. I think she's capable of it, but the timing has just been off this entire time. I know there's talent there, and I think especially right now, with the history that both Liv and Rhea have, this all makes sense. And I think that won't make sense if Liv doesn't win the championship on Raw.
Nope, there's nobody right now that can literally take the championship from her. Like she needs that championship right now. Liv needs it more than anybody on the roster right now. But I'm also not mad if they do like when Money in the Bank comes around and somebody wins that briefcase on Raw for Raw. They cash in on Liv, and that makes her even more mad, just like Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, but here's the problem. They can't really do that because obviously Rhea Ripley, she's going to want to get her revenge on Liv Morgan, but she also wants to get her championship back that she never technically lost. So I feel like the most logical thing that they can do is honestly just give Liv the championship. Have her win it and have her go on this heel run. Let's build up her resume a little bit. And then when Rhea Ripley comes back just in time for maybe SummerSlam or Survivor Series, one of those big PLEs, that's a big money match right there. And then we can figure out what's going to happen later on.
I agree with that. It's better than my idea.
But moving on now to our last We Are Wrestling Weekly recap for the week. Finally, this past Monday on Raw, something that I've been asking for probably the last 15 years. We got new Tag Team Championship designs. The WWE World Tag Team Championships are back. And I'm sure on SmackDown we're going to get new title reveals that we don't know yet because we're recording this a few hours before SmackDown. Quick little disclaimer. What's your thoughts on the new title designs and finally splitting up these freaking titles?
Thank God. Thank God, first and foremost. I like the designs. They're not bad. It caught me off guard when they did that though, but I actually like the designs. I'm not even going to hold you. They're really... They give me an old school vibe a little bit compared to the original tag team titles. They're probably more updated for this era though. Like
all those ugly Spartan titles. Oh my god! Especially like the penny ones with the bronze. Oh my god!
I mean, that was just the brand thing though. Like they had to represent the colors too. So they were like
having the colored straps and then putting them as like gray plates instead of bronze plates was better. But I think seriously, like. The tag titles that we finally dropped, those are like some of the worst championship designs of all time.
Yeah.
I think independent wrestling companies have better looking championships than that.
At first, I liked them years ago when they first came out, but then...
not me. I was so mad.
And then I'm like, after the years went by, I'm like, yeah, okay, they need to change these belts up now.
Because I love the Ruthless Aggression World Tag Team Championship designs.
Favorites. Those are my favorites.
Such a beautiful championship design.
Those are my favorite tag team titles of all time right
But
now.
I will say, I actually really like the new title design look. And I think they did a great job. I think R-Truth... I think adding the comedy in there with Triple H, saying he thought he was Ciampa, I thought that was great. And I think it was just a great way to transition from those ugly titles to the new titles. Now, if I was booking it, I probably would have grabbed like a garbage can or something and I would have threw the titles in there. But, hey, we got new championships. We never have to see those ugly titles again. Rest in paradise.
That's what makes Awesome Truth, R-Truth so funny though. Like... because he's unpredictable, but you know he's trolling at the same time. You know he can make somebody laugh. As long as he's making people laugh, he's doing his job at the end of the day. So y'all can't really hate on him for that. As long as the segment is or was a little bit, y'all can't hate on that much either, man. Let our truth live, man.
Hell yeah, I have to agree with that. But up next, we have the comment of the week, and of course, the We Are Wrestling weekly news and rumors. We'll be right back with more We Are Wrestling podcast episode 104.
Hello, I'm Elias, and you are listening to the We Are Wrestling podcast.
Are you looking for wrestling content? Well, We Are Wrestling provides everything pro wrestling. The best one, Donnie, Gins, and the Load Rager Ben, are wrestling marks like you who love this sport. We Are Wrestling has it all when it comes to wrestling content. We have different podcasts, vlogs, reactions, full wrestling matches, live pay-per-view watch-alongs, interviews, predictions, and so much more. Only on We Are Wrestling. What are you waiting for? Subscribe and become a We Are Wrestling Maniac now. We're back, and we do want to let all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs know that on Friday, May 10th, We Are Wrestling will be at Blitzkrieg Pro home. We're going to be sponsoring the Bronson versus Cruel no disqualification match, and it's going to be a stacked card. So if you guys are in the Western Mass area, come out to the Pierogi Hall in Enfield, Connecticut on Friday, May 10th. If you can't make it, you can watch it on IWTV.
Hey, let me tell y'all something about these Blitzkrieg events, man. I don't think since I've met him, I don't think I've missed one yet, and they've all been fire. Yeah, y'all need to go out there and get some tickets now. Don't miss out on this, because Blitzkrieg is probably top 5 my favorite wrestling companies right now. Don't miss out.
I think right now Blitzkrieg Pro is one of the best independent wrestling companies out there right now. And I'm not even saying that because we have a working relationship with them. They're just putting on great matches, such a great locker room, and overall just a good vibe. But every week here on the We Are Wrestling podcast, we do this thing called the Comment of the Week. Except this week, I got to pick the comment because Ben isn't here, unfortunately, for this week's episode. And this comment I picked was from the Damian Priest reaction from this past Monday on Raw, and the winner was at Rex Da Weller 7513, and he commented this, and I quote, "I think Finn is gonna do something to make Damian a clear face. We'll see Demon Finn, but it ain't gonna go well because Damian is going over." What's your thoughts on that comment?
Yeah, I can see jealousy with Finn Balor because Damian Priest won the championship that he won it last year. He literally was fighting for that belt like 4 months last year, right? Like literally
against Seth Rollins the summertime.
All the way up to SummerSlam, and then there's still a story behind that because Finn's gonna blame Priest for costing him those matches. Still, like he's gonna hold all the receipts from last year. He's gonna be like, "You still owe me. Well, you cost me the championship." In reality, it never really did. Finn messed up on his own, but like you already know how the wrestling thing goes. Like,
oh yeah,
a heel's always gonna blame you for something, even when you don't do it.
But that's the thing. This past Monday on Raw, they teased it a little bit because Finn was talking about, "Hey, Damian, when are we going to go back for those tag team championships?"
Yep.
And Damian kind of brushed it off. So I feel like eventually we are going to get there with Finn and Damian, and I think that would be a great move. I really don't think the Judgment Day is going to be anything by the time Rhea comes back from injury. I definitely could see Dominic getting drafted to the opposite brand during the draft. I could see JD probably being with either Priest or Baylor, probably Baylor realistically because of the history that they both have. It's definitely going to be interesting, but when it comes to Damian being a face and Finn Balor being a heel, that's the thing I have trouble thinking about because I feel like it's going to be the opposite. I don't know. I know a lot of people think Priest is going to be a babyface. For me, I feel like Finn Balor is going to be the babyface because look at the way he was booked in NXT under Triple H.
Yeah, Balor looked like a star in NXT under Triple H's guy.
Baylor Club, dude. He's coming back, I think.
Yeah, he was a star under Triple H. But I could see Priest being heel too. Still, like and then he can be the dominating.
I could see it going both ways. I definitely can see Priest being the babyface, Damian being the heel, but I don't think Damian is going to be put over. I think Finn Balor is actually going to get his moment if this is the case. I think Finn Balor could be the next world champion.
Yeah, I can see that logic too. I can see that Balor. He's overdue for this too. Like
overdue.
I think he needs it because since relinquishing the Universal Championship back in 2016, he never got really a big break to be a top guy ever. Like he never really got the big break. I think this story could work in his favor too. It could really work in his favor.
I definitely have to agree with that, and I feel like with Finn Balor, he deserves so much more, and I feel like this is the perfect way to finally give him that moment. And we know Triple H is also very behind Balor as well, and I think that this could be the make or break moment in his career, and I feel like he needs it. And if he's not going to get it, I've been saying this for the past few months with all the Judgment Day reactions, Finn Balor needs to go back to New Japan Pro Wrestling. We need Prince Devitt back.
Yeah, that would be actually good too.
If he doesn't win the World Heavyweight Championship, Balor deserves more.
Yep. This is Balor's time. But then I wouldn't mind seeing Prince Devitt again in New Japan. It's been almost a decade. It's been 11 years since I've last seen Prince Devitt over there in New Japan. And like I said, with Moxley the champ now, Prince Devitt, he can be the guy that dethrones Moxley.
And I'm just saying, too, AEW, they've been picking up some very big names in the wrestling industry this year. So imagine them signing Prince Devitt. That could be a huge signing, especially with the new direction that AEW is going in.
Then I heard about the I heard about the Machine Guns going over there now too.
Yep, Machine Guns to AEW. That's also
that shocked me because they're literally the backbone of this TNA right now, and I didn't expect them to leave because then they're OGs, so I'm like, okay,
maybe they're not happy with the Scott D'Amore thing.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, then,
I could see them showing up at Dynasty on Sunday. I could see them getting involved with the Young Bucks and FTR. Maybe.
Oh, I can say that's
bold
a good
prediction.
That's a good idea. FTR and the Machine. Oh, you on to something right there.
I am. But I gotta say, the feud is definitely going to be happening this summer with Balor and Priest. Mm-hmm. But I think that Balor is going to be the one to be put over. So I do apologize to the winner of this week for the comment of the week, because I do agree with you, but I disagree with the outcome. But congratulations to Rex DeWeller, 7513 on the comment of the week. If you want to get your comment featured on a future episode of the We Are Wrestling podcast, all you got to do is just leave a comment. So now, with that being said, let's get into the We Are Wrestling weekly news and rumors for the We Are Wrestling podcast episode 104. Starting things off, we haven't heard this name in quite some time. Nikki Bella is All Elite. While speaking on her podcast, The Nikki and Bree Show, she was really considering going to AEW and stated this, and I quote, "Since we've been lifting so much, we always start to get that wrestling mindset. We're going to go back and do this story and cut this promo. You get it, but how serious I got where I was like, okay, I think I could do maybe a year at AEW, and I could do it every week. When I saw Mercedes debut, cut her promo, that line stuck with me. Here, we're going to make the evolution worldwide. I was like, they do. It goes into many leagues, is what she means. It doesn't have to be at one place. It could be at all of these places where all these women are wrestling at. I go, Brie, I think I could do it for a year. I can do it here to here and go every week. Then I thought of my son. I had a good week of like, this is it. I'm going to call Tony Khan. I'm your girl. I will commit. Then I was like, I can't do that to my son right now. He needs me. Would you like to see Nikki Bella or Brie show up in AEW at any point?
I'm gonna keep it honest. I'm gonna keep it a buck workout.
Hey, keep it honest, man.
No. No. I'm sorry.
Any reason?
I've seen them. I've been watching the Bellas wrestle for years. Like, they were good. Like, they were big names. They were solid, decent in the ring. They had a little bit of star power and stuff. But every time I see them wrestle, it's like they don't. Some of the moves they do, like, they don't execute them right. I think they just be off the spot. They have dry spots in a lot of their matches, and I don't see it. I'm sorry.
You can look, but you can't touch.
That's just about it, and that was average. Even that was average. I'm sorry. I'm not a hater. I'm not a hater on the Bella, so don't.
Hey, everybody has their favorites, and they have their least favorites.
I don't see them. I just don't see it. Like, compared to some of the top female wrestlers now, they're average at best compared to them. You can even name some wrestlers right now, I'll tell you.
If Nikki and Brie do decide to ever step foot in the ring, I'm going to keep it 100. I would rather see them go to WWE and actually maybe win the women tag team championships one time before they decide to hang up the boots or the sneakers. In this case, I think AEW is more for professional wrestling. WWE, on the other hand, is more sports entertainment. And I feel like with Nikki Bella, she fits the sports entertainment a lot more than the professional wrestling. And that's not discrediting her work in the ring, because I definitely think that she had a great run with that Divas Championship before they turned it into the Women's World Championship and the WWE Championship. I think that she had a great run with it, and she was very over during her time, and I think that she is one of the key factors to this women's revolution that's happened. So I will give her credit there, but I can't see her and her sister going to AEW. I just don't see the fit there. I don't see it.
They're gonna get, like, and I don't mean to say it like this. So
because look at Saraya. They haven't done shit with her.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not disrespecting when I say it like this. Not at all. So don't get it twisted. But they're gonna, like, you watch them wrestle and stuff and try to tell stories, they're gonna get exposed, man. I'm sorry.
I think AEW, like,
that's not the place for them. Like, WWE, I think they should go to WWE.
There's some people that just fit in other promotions. And I think in this case, I can't see Nikki going to AEW. It would be cool, but I don't see it happening.
And then I think, in my opinion, the difference between WWE and AEW, when it comes to the wrestling, I think the wrestlers have certain freedoms over there. But under WWE, Triple H, I think he wants to try to make it perfect, but he'll try to tone it down for you so you can be more comfortable over there. That's just my opinion. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
I think it's just the difference is WWE, they're more focused on the television product, the storylines. AEW, on the other hand, they're more focused on the professional wrestling, the holy shit chants. That's like my perspective from it. Yeah. But everybody has their perspectives when it comes to professional wrestling. We all see it in a different view, and that's what makes the sport pretty freaking awesome, in my opinion. But moving on now to our next weekly news and rumors. Kenny Omega addressed the AEW All Out Brawl over on his Twitch channel and said this. Roll the audio.
So, just because I represent a company or because I am an employee of one company over another, does that mean I love every storyline? Does that mean that I agree with every decision? No, of course not. I'm not the booker. I don't have power. I haven't had power for more than 4 years now in that company. And I know that's going to sound odd because, like, well, Kenny, you're an EVP. I'm nothing. I am nothing. And I'll tell you why. It's because I'm a terrible EVP. I don't deserve to be an EVP. If people want to ask for my advice, I'll do my best to help them. If there's a fire to put up backstage, I'm going to do my best to be that person. Enter the situation while there was chaos, de-escalate it, and create a peaceful environment for everyone. I was able to create a peaceful environment for the most important person in that altercation, and that was Larry. And I swear to God, honestly, that was my biggest. And yeah, it sounds funny, but like, I look at animals and our pets as people, and as, you know, Bobby, of course, one of the most important people in my life. So to get little Larry out of there was the most important thing to me, and that was the success. Unfortunately, try as I may, things were too chaotic for me to be able to do anything by my own power. That was a moment when I had seen that there were... Good call. I believe it was in that instance when I realized that the way that I wanted to go about things wasn't necessarily the way that other people wanted to. It was also the way that other people necessarily didn't want to. And then it was also maybe not the way that the boss wanted to take care of it. And I also thought of myself as a liability because I don't want to say old school. I'm not old school. I've just played a lot of contact sports, and I've gotten into jiu-jitsu and boxing and mixed martial arts. I just know that sometimes when you perform or when you fight, when everything's on the line, when you give your heart, when you give your soul towards something, and you're in that moment of high stress or high anxiety, where you've maybe emptied the tank and you're just physically exhausted. That was actually very impressive. A good punish. Yeah. When in an environment like that, sometimes emotions get the best of you and people will want to throw hands. And in the case, and I'm unfortunately or fortunately a believer of it, I think if it's decided that, hey, this is the best way to solve things and you can shake hands after and move on after, I'm a believer. I'm actually a believer of fighting. I am, and that sounds terrible to say, and which is why, like, don't make me an EVP in 2024. You know, you can't do that stuff anymore. I just feel that sometimes that's how you have to settle things. Sometimes. And I don't mean you have to settle it and then it has to be shown on screen to everyone, or people have to brag online about who won, who lost. No, like, it's not for that purpose. It's for the purpose of just getting that stuff out that you need to get out. And I mean, I'll admit there were a number of times, even now with me, where I thought that might have been the most appropriate answer. It never came to that. We were able to talk things out, and we became better friends, and there was a level of respect at that point on between myself and these other parties. And maybe I'll share these stories later. It's but I always, it's crazy. As much as I believe in cooler heads prevailing, sitting down and talking, sometimes it was just like, hey, I can't even think straight until I start throwing some hay, you know, or maybe that I need to be smacked around a little bit, whatever the case might be. I think if it's a contained scenario, and if it's not a situation where it's, you know, there's like pulling people's eyeballs out, you know, low blows, hair pulling or scratching, you know what I mean? If it's just like, hey, let's just hang and bang a little bit. I can see it sometimes being conducive for a positive work environment. Again, this is exactly why I have no power, nor should I. So that's just how I feel. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
So, Ricky, after listening to the audio about Kenny Omega's side of the whole all-out brawl, what's your thoughts on it?
I think he's coming from a good place about it. I think he didn't want that. I don't think he wanted any of the negativity to go down. I don't think he wanted the fight to go down. I don't think he wanted any of that negative aura around him. And I think he also didn't want to look like a fool in front of everybody, or he didn't want to feel like he started or anything. I think it's just like he felt disrespected probably at Punk's comments as well, but it really wasn't serious. They could have talked about it instead of doing what they did at the brawl, and then at the same time, like, cooler heads could have prevailed, just like he said. Cooler heads really could have prevailed. Like, all this could have been avoided But like he said, also, I think at that time, the disrespect, I think he took that disrespect for. Sometimes people take disrespect to heart on sight.
I agree.
And then when he said throwing hands too, somewhat, I probably would have said the same thing about that a little bit. I probably would have said the same thing if I was in his situation, because sometimes that's happened to me in the past a few times too. So I would have took it like that too. But at the end of the day too, this could have been all avoided beyond. Like, you could have just approached him respectfully and positive, like, hey, I ain't like this comment, like, why would you say that about me and stuff like that? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because what they could have done in the situation was CM Punk was obviously heated in that moment, and I even said it with the whole fight thing. CM Punk started it by instigating it in his words during the media scrum. If anybody has a problem with me, you know where I'm at. You can come to my locker room. And that's what the Young Bucks and Kenny did. They showed up in his locker room. But now, because they were EVPs, that's what made them in the wrong. Now, if it was 2024, like Kenny Omega said in this, and he wasn't an EVP, and he went in there, Kenny's not at fault at all, because he's just defending himself in the situation. But because you're an EVP, you're supposed to be a leader. There's ways that you have to handle situations, certain situations. And definitely they should have just talked it out at Dynamite or had a meeting in Chicago. They should have done something there. But instead, I think all parties were in the wrong at some point.
Yeah, they were. Everybody was wrong in that moment. Like, this could have been talked about respectfully and more positively. And then in your work environment, especially as the EVPs, because Kenny said he didn't want to be EVP.
So now he's not an EVP anymore, which is something he did confirm in his Twitch channel.
He don't want to be no EVP. So I'm actually happy for him for that, because now he can just relax and do his thing and recover the way he wants to. But
and just do what he does best, and that's be a pro wrestler.
Yeah, but the Bucks shouldn't have went to the locker room neither, though. They should have just.
Oh no, absolutely not.
They should have like, hey, I ain't like that. Like, let's just talk about this. Let's just sit down and let's fix the situation respectfully. And then at the same time, Punk was still mad at a lot of other things too. He was mad at that Hangman promo. He said Hangman went into business for himself.
Colt Cabana.
And Colt Cabana, like a lot of other things contributed to.
Oh, and also he even talked about it on the MMA Hour. Another thing that escalated was the reporters that were at the scrum, because he really didn't like a lot of them because they posted a lot of negative things about him during this time where he was having issues with Hangman and Colt, and I think that really made a huge impact as well. But I do want to share my thoughts, though, on Kenny's mindset, because one thing throughout my life is when I was a kid, I was always a fighter. I always thought that violence was the answer, because I do have two older stepbrothers who did go in and out of jail and dealt with addiction throughout their life, and I was always taught, like, self-defense. Violence is the answer, and when I was younger, like, I would get picked on when I was before, like, elementary school, like, during that time, and for me, instead of doing the right thing, I ended up fighting people, and at one point, during camp, I actually broke a kid's arm because of what happened. And that's the thing. Throughout life, the older I got, the more I realized that fighting isn't the answer, because there are some really close people in my life that I would get mad over something so stupid, like a piece of gum, and I would get into a fight with somebody over it. Violence to me has never been the answer. I feel like if you're somebody that I consider a brother or a really good friend, I feel like if I have an issue with somebody, instead of throwing hands, because I feel like that's the way to handle the situation, for me it's always been communication. Because if you're somebody important in my life, I don't see the point in putting my hands on that somebody. I always felt like if you have a problem, use your words, communicate, talk about it. And if you don't like what the other person has to say, then you move forward. And then you just get on with your life. And I think we know CM Punk has regretted some things that have happened. Kenny Omega's admitted. I'm sure Young Bucks, I'm sure everybody that's involved, there's regret in some capacity. But I think Kenny Omega definitely handled the situation well in this. I'm talking about him talking about it because I know there is NDAs that they did sign. Punk did confirm that during his interview. But the way Kenny Omega approached the situation, I really have to give him respect where it's due because he didn't have to talk about this at all. And who even knows, with all the shit that happened with the NDAs, he could have gotten maybe into some trouble for talking about this on his live stream. But Kenny went out and he got to say his piece. He got to say his side of the story. And I'm kind of glad it clears his name because I always felt like in this situation, Kenny Omega really wasn't the antagonist. I think that he's just really good friends with the Young Bucks. He's really good friends with Colt Cabana and Hangman, and he just had their back because he's their friend. And CM Punk even said, like, he understands that why Hangman acted the way he acted and had Colt Cabana's back because that's his friend.
Yep.
And friends do have each other's backs.
Yep. And went into business for himself. Hangman, you can't blame other people for that, man. You went into business for yourself. You know what you did. You know why Punk went ballistic.
And that's the thing, man. Like, for me, I do disagree with him saying, like, throwing hands is the answer to problems. I don't think that at all. I feel like communication is always the right answer. And in this situation, if they just let Punk cool off, let him throw his little hissy fit, they could have figured out the situation when all parties aside weren't hot and heated.
Yep. Straight like that. Like, as always it is. Probably I would have said something different probably 17 years ago. But
oh, yeah, dude, definitely. Like, friggin', if this was maybe probably 10 years ago, I would have had a whole different answer. I'd probably be preaching Kenny Omega for saying
the thing is,
throwing fists is the answer.
The thing is, nobody in high school or prior to that never really stepped to me. Like,
nah, same here, man. It was like once I got, I want to say maybe like past like third grade, nobody really like stepped to me. But I always thought violence was the answer, and I had that mindset going all the way until probably like 8th grade. And then I realized that it's just, for me, it's just not the answer because I know what I'm capable of. I literally broke a kid's arm over something stupid, which is fucking really cringe for me to say years later. But I don't know. There's just other ways to handle the situation. Like, especially being a content creator, I've always learned to not really care what other people think, too. Just do your own thing. There's going to be haters out there. Haters are going to hate.
Sometimes I get annoyed with opinions online.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's...
Some people don't know what they be talking about sometimes.
But that's the thing, though. I won't let that live in my head rent-free. Because there's more to life.
I'll probably leave it there for like a second, and I'm like...
Trust me, the more you do this, Ricky, you'll learn that it's not worth it. But moving on now to our next We Are Wrestling Weekly News and Rumors. According to Fightful, WrestleMania 41 could be taking place in May. What's your thoughts on WWE maybe changing WrestleMania to another month?
It's gonna feel weird to me because literally my whole childhood and teenage years, it's always been in either March or April. Like, moving it to May would sound like it'll sound a little weird to me a little bit. I probably would have liked it, but then I'm like, nah, like this has never happened back in my younger years. It'll just feel weird to me because April just feels like a WrestleMania thing. Just like TNA with Bound for Glory, they always had it in October. It felt like a Octoberish name and thing. Or WCW Starrcade back in December, it always felt right. Or the Tokyo Dome in January, it always felt right. But WrestleMania moving to May, it don't sit right with me. Like, it feels really very different, and for nostalgic reasons, I probably wouldn't like it.
That's like moving SummerSlam to September.
Exactly. Yep. Just like that. That's like moving the NBA playoffs around all the way to December.
That's like moving the Super Bowl to like the summertime.
Yeah, I can't.
I'm sorry. I think that this is a horrible move, and we've been praising WWE in a lot of their moves lately, but this is one that I think is absolutely stupid because the Royal Rumble is in January, and now you're telling me, because I think the road to WrestleMania, having it February, March, April, it's a perfect 2 to 3 months. So now we're going to have to go 3 to 4 months. I feel like that's a little too long.
Yeah, and you got the Royal Rumble in January. God, please do not have these people change the Royal Rumble. Please.
Please do not, because that's something that I look forward to having in January.
If they change the Rumble in January, man, I'm going to call WWE headquarters myself to complain.
We don't even have to call them. We're pretty close. We're going to have our picket signs. We're going to the WWE headquarters. If you see us on the news,
I'm like,
We Are Wrestling will be there.
Yeah, I'm like, why are y'all changing all of this stuff up? But no, back to WrestleMania in May potentially. No, don't do it.
April showers brings May flowers.
No, they shouldn't do it. And plus, all of the Royal Rumble winners are going to have to wait another 4 months.
They're going to have to wait another month. It's going to feel like a Damian Priest Money in the Bank.
Nope. And then on top of that,
Senor Money in the Bank.
Yep. And then on top of all of that, the kids are going to be like, why did they change WrestleMania, Dad?
It's so pointless. Why are we going to don't fix something that's not broken. Mm-hmm. Don't fix something that's not broken. That's all I got to say about that.
Triple H, you're doing good. But just leave it. Even the person before you had comments.
Like the end of March is okay. But
that's what it is.
They
had it in March.
May. We don't need May. That's too far.
They had Mania in March too prior to that. So I wouldn't mind them going back to March either. Like if they go back to March
or April.
Exactly.
We're straight.
Leave it.
But moving on now to our next weekly news and rumors. It feels good to actually agree on a lot of these things because me and my other co-hosts, we be going back and forth like two divorced parents. But moving on now to our next weekly news and rumors. Eric Rowan is no longer a free agent. According to PW Insider, several indie promotions have announced that Eric Rowan has pulled out of upcoming events due to contractual obligations. Rowan was also seen in Pittsburgh this past week where WWE talent go through medical testing. What's your thoughts on Rowan possibly returning to WWE, maybe the Wyatt Six?
I'm with it. Eric Rowan's always been underrated somewhat. Him alongside, rest in peace, Luke Harper and rest in peace Bray Wyatt as the Wyatt family. I'm actually with the move. I'm liking it. Rowan, like I said, he's always been underrated too.
Live on his legacy.
Yep, he's always been underrated. He's always been a dominating big man, and he's always played his role however they wanted him to play. Had him with Daniel Bryan several years ago during that, and then they had him with
I actually really like that run with Daniel Bryan with them.
Yep, and then I think Luke Harper returned for a minute, and then Roman Reigns and
the Bludgeon brothers, right?
Yep. Luke Harper returned, and him and Daniel Bryan, they went at it. Roman Reigns had to be thrown in the mix, but that was good too. Like Eric Rowan always plays his role. My bad. Eric Rowan always plays his role. Like I'm all for it. I'm all for him coming back. Like I'm all for it.
I think if you're going to form a faction in honor of Bray Wyatt, it only makes sense to bring in Eric Rowan because he is the last of the original Wyatt family. And I'm not including Braun Strowman. I'm talking about Luke Harper, Bray Wyatt, and Eric Rowan. Those were the original three back in 2013.
Rest in peace to both of them, by the way.
And I think with Wyatt 6, there's a lot of possibilities of who we're going to get in this group. I definitely think we're getting a faction. And I think that bringing back Uncle Howdy, I know there's some people that are just let Bray Wyatt's legacy just live on. But I think, like, him doing this, I think, is a great move. And I think Ben and I, we talked about a lot of it on one of our We Are Wrestling extras. We did a whole review on the Bray Wyatt documentary. And I feel like Bo Dallas, Taylor Rotunda, he's had a successful career, but he's never had that big moment. And I think now is the time. And I feel like with Wyatt 6, you could bring in Alexa Bliss. She's been away for a while. She had a relationship with Bray Wyatt. I think that we definitely have to bring back Eric Rowan and Braun Strowman. I think that they could be a really good tag team for the division. I think that they could definitely benefit from each other. Also, I could see maybe Dexter Lumis, because we haven't got to see him in a while. If Matt Hardy decides to join WWE until his brother comes, have him a part of Wyatt 6 because of the whole broken character. Him and Bray actually did stuff.
But at the same time, it can work. But
Joe Gacy, too.
At the same time, it can be, I wouldn't say hit or miss, but it's kind of risky because if you're going to do this, you got to make sure it's going to be like better even than Bray Wyatt's character a little bit.
Well, I don't think anything's ever going to be better than Bray Wyatt's character.
But it has to match it.
But you do have a valid point here.
You got to match
because
it.
This is very, very risky. Because one bad booking decision with this group, it can go right downhill. And I really hope that that's not the case. And I feel like WWE, I think they could do this right. Especially under Triple H. I think that they're going to be able to do this, especially because there is a lot of other factions in WWE right now. Mm-hmm. We have the LWO, we have Legado. One feud that I would love to see would be Wyatt 6 versus Final Testament. I think that they could do some really good storylines there. I think that there's a lot of possibilities here with this, and we're just going to have to see where things go. I definitely think if there is going to be anybody, it's probably going to be Uncle Howdy, Braun Strowman, and Eric Rowan.
At the same time, like, this is a hit and miss right here, though. If they plan on doing this and it messes up, it's going to fail very bad. Just like he mentioned, just like Donnie mentioned, like, make one wrong move with that, the whole project is going to be, it's going to probably be a C+. But
that's one thing, though, and I know you as well. I believe in fate. And I think that Bray Wyatt, he's going to be following them, and he's going to be looking down at them. And I think that I have a feeling that this is going to be a really cool thing.
You can't replace Bray Wyatt.
But you know they're going to have him there in some capacity with old promos, packages, and like having the Fireflies out in honor of him. I think it's going to be something that's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be very interesting to see what they can do with it.
When I first seen that character back in, when I first seen the Wyatt family debut back in 2013, I had my doubts on them, but then after the John Cena feud, Bray Wyatt made me a believer after that.
Dude, I've been so behind the Bray Wyatt character since he did it with Eli Cottonwood and FCW. That's how way back I go. I loved Florida Championship Wrestling, so I'd watch it on YouTube every week because somebody would re-upload the episodes. And Bray Wyatt, when he first made the character Bray Wyatt, he had this big guy with him. He was a part of the game show, Eli Cottonwood. And I was so behind the character because I've always been a big fan of old school stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember the Waylon Mercy character. It was just during a bad time. And Bray Wyatt was able to make it work in this time.
I remember, I'm not going to lie to you, too. I remember him as Husky Harris, a part of Nexus, too.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I've seen him in NXT, too. The early years of NXT, everybody.
Dude, I remember when him and his brother, they won the FCW Tag Champs.
Mm-hmm. But Bo Dallas... He's very good. Bo Dallas is good, right? He's good. He's very good.
Very, very talented.
He's very talented.
He's never gotten that moment, and I feel like right now is his time.
Yeah. But if you mess that project up, you're going to get a C+. Like, you're going to have eyes watching you if this thing goes down. I trust Triple H to book this right, too. I trust him.
Definitely.
I trust Triple H to book this right.
I am definitely trusting Triple H and Bruce Pritchard and that entire team.
Yeah, because unlike the last guy, I don't say his name no more. He did Bray Wyatt right. I'm not gonna bash him.
50-50.
But Triple H, you can make this work. I can see you making this work. I ain't gonna say nothing bad. You can make this work.
Anything's possible, but our last We Are Wrestling Weekly news and rumors topic. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, there's belief going around that the Creed brothers are going heel to form a unit with Chad Gable. What's your thoughts on this?
Team Angle Part 2.
Taking my idea. Because when I saw the picture, that's like the first thing I thought of was Team Angle 2. But honestly, man, I gotta say, I'm really excited about this because for once, we're actually going to be getting a serious Chad Gable. This isn't a Shorty G thing. This is a serious singles push Chad Gable. Something that I've been preaching WWE to do for years.
And the story makes sense, considering Sami Zayn beat the final boss at Mania. This was literally his redemption arc. And I don't know why people are still calling Sami Zayn the underdog of the underground anymore. But this is kind of redemption from him losing the championship to Roman Reigns in his hometown. So somewhat the story and then the idea made sense and the angle makes sense for Sami. But Chad Gable on the other hand, him turning heel would add a lot more adversity and depth to his character currently.
I agree with that, but it's like what you said with Sami Zayn. We've been there. We've done that. He's already won the Intercontinental Championship multiple times already. I feel like it's time for Sami Zayn to go after the big title, and that is the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Undisputed Championship.
But you got to understand, too, at the same time, this Intercontinental Championship, he just broke another record, and Gunther, he's literally main event level. He's literally main event level.
I have been hearing ever since WrestleMania, and you were there with I
was going for him to win too.
Everybody that was a part of the live watch along, which shout out to you guys for joining us in the live watch along. Everybody besides this man right here were all coming at me when Sami Zayn friggin' beat Gunther. Oh my god. Here's why it upsets me, because Sami Zayn is already an established star. Gunther has had one of the greatest Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship runs of all time. Mm-hmm. And I thought that this was the perfect opportunity to put over somebody else who isn't established yet. Right. Or somebody that is established but hasn't gotten that defining moment. And I felt like Chad Gable would have been the perfect guy to get that moment. But I do agree, it does make sense for him to go on this heel run. I hope eventually he does get rewarded with an Intercontinental or United States Championship. Yep. And I will say this, I am very excited to see what they do with the Creed brothers, because I think that they're a very talented tag team. They just haven't had any direction yet on the main roster, and I think pairing them up with Gable would be a great move.
Yeah, like I said, this is Team Angle Part 2. But I think Chad Gable might, in this sense, not throwing no shots. He might not win the world title.
No, I don't think he, but that's the thing though, he doesn't need to.
No, but like if this is going to be a heel faction, it's going to be dominating, but people are going to expect more from it. And I don't think a world title push from Chad Gable is possible. Maybe, like I said, weirder things have happened in pro wrestling, so.
I will say this. I wouldn't be mad at all if Sami Zayn is a transitional champion and Chad Gable gets it.
No, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad at this point.
Then I could say to Ben, to Cam, to freaking Angelo and all the other We Are Wrestling Maniacs, I could say, ha! I told you so.
No, Sami doesn't need the championship, but like I just stated, my opinion, this is a little bit of redemption for him. And this is Sammy's next step, in my opinion, to the main event level, I think.
But how many steps does he have to climb? Because I feel like it's every time I hear the same crap with Sami Zayn. When he had the Intercontinental title during the Thunderdome, all right, he's ready for that next step. When he's a part of the Bloodline, he's ready for that next step. And then now he wins the Intercontinental Championship. Okay, now this is the next step. How many steps does this man have to climb to become a world champion? Because I feel like at this point, he is friggin' climbed enough steps.
It depends on it also depends on the angle and the situation. And sometimes the story that everybody's expecting, it takes several turns, and then things get lost in the shuffle a little bit. So last minute plannings might be the reason why Sammy's not where he needs to be right now. I think when you look at the storylines and stuff somewhat, you already know he's there, but he needs that right story to really make him look legit. And that's
the thing that makes it so sad. He had that legitimate story with Roman, and that was the perfect time to put the championship on him.
Right.
But obviously they had bigger plans for Cody to finish the story, which does make sense. It's just unfortunate that timing is everything, and with Sami Zayn, we all know when is the time, but they never think it's the right time.
Oh no, I got something to say.
And it's mind-fucking.
My bad. My bad.
Nah,
I got
good.
a little side note here when it comes to Cody winning the big one now. Congratulations, Cody. I'm sorry. This is last minute thinking. You guys better not turn on Cody. That's the only thing I'm gonna leave.
There's literally already people in the IWC that are turning on him, and it makes no fucking sense.
I don't want to hear that. Y'all been asking for Cody to finish his story. He's finished the story. Now celebrate it with him and let him be great. He's going to put prestige back into that champion. I'm sorry I had to bring this up again. I just had to say
it's
that.
totally fine, and I have to blame also WWE on that because they're overbooking him right now as champion, having him cut the same promo every single week. We need to just get this number one contender done and over with at this point, because I feel like even with the World Heavyweight Championship, they kind of waited a little too long. So now with Jay versus Damian, I hope they start picking up more momentum going into Backlash, because right now it's very dry. And that's the thing I'm getting very nervous about with this WWE Championship, is that I know Friday, as you know, this comes out, AJ Styles probably already won against LA Knight because we have the script. And I think that...
Oh, I don't know if I did it right.
Ricky trying to be a creative wrestler, creating his own entrance. But not in all seriousness, like, I don't know, they should have just did the tournament like the whole night on SmackDown, and then it would have given more time for the Cody versus AJ.
That in the WWE champ, it needs to be prestigious again. It needs to be restored. Triple H, you should not mess around. That championship needs to be restored again. Too many part-timers have had it, and that's no disrespect to Roman. Thank you, Roman, for those last 4 years of being champion. But that championship, under you, it had the main event feel, but it's lost a lot of prestige. A lot of it. And Cody, it's your job, and I got a lot of faith in you because you've been talking about finishing this story for almost 2 years. Now, make this championship great again like you said he was going to do, because it's looking very... Right now, I ain't gonna finish.
Give him some matches on TV.
Yep.
Even if it's non-title.
Anything at this point. Anything. But like I said, Roman did a good job as champ. He did a very good job.
Oh yeah, because we hated him. He was doing his job.
Yep. But now it's your turn. Like, you gotta convince us. You gotta convince me. You probably gotta convince millions of fans that.
I will say the promos have convinced me, but now we're getting into Backlash. And time is ticking. And we only have, I think, until the first week of May for Cody versus AJ Styles or LA Knight. Whoever wins by the time this comes out.
Yep. And then
we only have like a couple weeks for this build-up. And that's why I'm saying we can't be slow. Like, after Mania, that's one thing. You can't be slow. And I know Triple H, he's trying to do the long-term storylines and stuff. I thought what they did with Cody and Rock planting 41 was fucking brilliant. But now we need to really pick up the speed here. Because this is after Mania, especially before the draft. I think once the draft happens, that's when everything is just going to fall into place. Because right now it's just a weird time in WWE from WrestleMania to the draft.
Yep. Like, there's no time to be wasted on this. Like, get your number one contender, make that championship great again. Like, split that championship up too, because I'm getting confused on what to call it right now.
I think they're calling it just Undisputed Champion.
Just like back in the
I think so.
When Chris Jericho.
Yeah. I think it's just the Undisputed Championship now.
As long as it get called the WWE Championship again in the future, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Because the Universal Championship, I will not respect it like the WWE title. The WWE title is the bread and butter.
Well, I will say this with Chad Gable and the Creed brothers. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see.
We got off that topic.
I'm very excited to see where things go from here. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with Otis now, because I think that he's probably realistically going to get drafted to NXT, go through like a whole new character, probably more serious, and then we're going to see what happens with him. Because that's the only thing that I'm like worried about is what's next for Otis now that Chad Gable is going to be with Creed brothers.
I'm going to keep it honest with you. I'm going to keep it honest with everybody watching or is going to watch this. Otis might
get released.
No, I don't want to say that. He might be at the bottom of the barrel again. I'm sorry. As long I don't want to disrespect Otis later because I like Otis, but he might be at the bottom of the barrel again because they ain't got no angles or stories for him.
Well, maybe they can find Tucker in one of those dumpster trucks and maybe bring him back, and we can get Heavy Machinery.
Then I remember Otis winning the Money in the Bank back in the COVID era.
And then later on, the
I thought he was going to be champion. I thought he was going to be Braun Strowman for that belt at a point.
I actually have him on one of my miscellaneous shelves when he won the Money in the Bank.
No, I thought
it's one of the cheapest wrestling figures.
Nah, like, bruh. I thought he really was going to beat Strowman for that belt. I thought he was going to cash in on him. I'm like, Otis is going to win the belt?
Hey, at the time, he had a lot of momentum. He had Mandy Rose.
Like, he had a lot.
He had the Money in the Bank.
I'm like, what?
Oh man, that would have been huge.
But no, I'm praying for Otis though. After like whatever happens after this, I pray Otis gets in a good situation because I don't want to see him.
I agree.
I don't want to see him at the bottom of the barrel, man. And I know he's going to get into a good situation again. So.
Yeah, I think NXT probably would be the best thing for him, probably. But up next, we have our main event topic for this week's episode of the We Are Wrestling podcast. We'll be right back with more We Are Wrestling podcast.
What is up, guys? This is Impact Wrestling superstar Eddie Edwards. I just want to give a shout out to We Are Wrestling on YouTube. Check it out.
Collecting has always had a special place in my heart, going all the way back to when I was a kid. I remember my parents taking me to Toys R Us and waking up on Christmas morning to a bunch of new action figures. I had bins filled with thousands of rare WWE, WCW, ECW, and TNA figures through the years until, unfortunately, I ended up selling my whole childhood without knowing the true value of my collection. 2 years after I made that horrible decision, the pandemic hit, and I realized there was a part of me that felt missing, and that was collecting. My whole life, I've loved collecting wrestling figures, wrestling memorabilia, classic video games, Nickelodeon stuff, sneakers, Funko Pops, and even Angry Birds. As time went by, I decided I wanted to get back into collecting, except this time, document it and rebuild my collection over on Best One Donnie. So, if you want to go back into time and relive my nostalgic memories, subscribe now. We're back, and getting put over, we will be doing that next week when Ben returns to the show. But with that being said, let's get into the main event topic for the We Are Wrestling podcast episode 104. And I'm glad that I get to talk to somebody that has a mutual opinion when it comes to All Elite Wrestling. just like myself. No, it's all love, Ben. It's all love, but you do be hating on AEW a little too much, and I feel like some of your takes are a little biased. I'm just going to say it, just going to call it. But then again, mine could be as well. Like, we all have those moments as fans. But this main event topic, AEW is not the alternatum anymore. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Ricky's favorite, Dave Meltzer, there's belief that WWE talent is less likely now to opt for AEW upon contract expirations. What's your thoughts on AEW now not really being the alternative now for people that are leaving WWE?
Okay, number one, this is off topic. That old geezer done hit his head way too many times. That's number one. Number two, I think in my opinion, based on that footage last week, opinions might change quickly during times, because if the owner, the vice presidents, right, the EVPs, if they're showing footage like that and exposing the wrestlers that openly, can you put your trust in your boss that something like this will happen again or won't ever happen again? Do you trust your boss to make the right decision from here on out? Was that only a one-time thing, or is it a little bit of concern? It's a little bit of concern. And then on top of that, wrestler opinion, they might swirl away. That WWE, this could work in their favor too. Like some guys might want to go to WWE and AEW. You never know that neither.
Hey, there might be people that just want to re-sign with WWE because they don't want to go to AEW.
That footage controversy, if it's not going to change opinion now, it might change them later, because Tony Khan, he can't be trusted doing that stuff, man. Like, and then wrestlers want to go to AEW just like to wrestle. They want to go over there, but like, they don't trust you 100%. Can they trust you 100% after what you pulled last week? Was that footage last week, right?
That was, I want to say, 2 weeks ago now.
Yep. Can you trust your boss not to put you in a spot like that? If stuff gets tough, can you trust somebody like that?
You see, that's the problem that I have, and I'm a huge AEW fan. I want them to succeed, and that's something that I will continue to preach so that my words don't get twisted around.
Hold on, even Shivani, he had his head down. I don't know if nobody seen that. Like,
I think everybody saw that.
He had his head down. He's like, "This is WCW all over again." He didn't say it out loud, but y'all can see it on his face. He's like, "Oh man, like, can you trust?"
Yeah, and I guess according to like an interview that he did, he's trying to say, "Oh, I was trying to sell the Young Bucks thing." Bullshit.
Nah, we're not.
We could see the bullshit.
Jay-Z voice. We don't believe you. You need more people.
Yeah, so
we love you though, Shivani.
I do love me some Shivani, but you know, my thoughts are, I'm not surprised by this, because as much as I love AEW, it's really not the alternatum. Like, yes, Tony Khan does have a lot of money to fund this, and that's why AEW is in the position that they're in. And they have a good TV deal, and they have this stacked roster, is because Tony Khan's got a lot of friggin' money.
But in my opinion, I don't trust you, Khan. I don't trust you, Tony.
And I think, especially with the last set of releases that happened in WWE, I don't think anybody from those releases that I could think of jumped ship from WWE to AEW.
Nope, not yet.
Because a lot of them went to TNA, a lot of them went to New Japan, a lot of them just did independents.
Yep, and it's worked for them. It's worked for them a lot. Mustafa Ali's now the X Division champion, and he's doing a very good job
selling out all these independent shows. Nick Nemeth, he's absolutely killing it in New Japan and TNA.
By the way, shout out to Nick Nemeth and Ishii. They had a fire match at Wendy's Center. If y'all ain't see that match, go watch it. I recommend y'all go watch that joint now.
And then also, Moss and Mansoor, they've been killing it in the independent circuit right now, going all over the place. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize that being a free agent isn't a bad thing at all.
Nope.
And signing short-term deals is not a bad thing either, because you have more control over what happens with your character, what happens with your career. And I think, especially seeing Matt Cardona do it at a very high level, a lot of these guys are seeing that, and they're realizing that AEW isn't the alternatum. They're not the answer. And before you do give your thoughts, here's another fact I want to let the maniacs know. If AEW could have been the alternatum, but if you look back at their company, all the guys that went from WWE to AEW, I want to say, and I don't have the Steiner math to really give you guys an exact percentage, but more than 50% of these WWE to AEW guys and girls have not done well at all, and their stocks went down because of the decision to go from WWE to AEW to play it safe. Because I think that's what it is at the end of the day. You're playing it safe because if you leave WWE and you go to AEW, you know you're getting a fat contract, you know you're getting limited dates, and with the independent circuit, these guys and girls who are deciding not to sign those big contracts with limited dates, the fans respect that more because they're on the grind and they're not afraid. They believe in themselves. I think going to AEW, you're showing all of these other promotions out here that you don't really believe in yourself. I'm not talking about the New Japan guys to WWE because they've already proved themselves. I'm talking about the guys that leave WWE, like Aleister Black, like Buddy Matthews, like Andrade did, Miro. These guys that went the easy route. They went to AEW because they got a contract, they got to work limited dates. That's what I'm talking about when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I agree with you, right? And then I gotta get back to Matt Cardona real quick because when he left WWE, I didn't think because he was having health problems at that time. I didn't think he was gonna be as big as he is now in the independent scene. I thought it was just like,
oh, I knew it.
I didn't see it coming. I apologize for that, Matt Cardona. Don't try and spear me when you see me, but I never seen that coming. And then on top of that, going to AEW, WWE is like a 15 minutes of fame thing. Like,
yep,
it's like you're a feature on the album, but after you got your verse in or something, that's it. After they paid you for your verse, you're like, oh, okay, we don't need it no more.
It's literally the 3-week push that the old chairman of WWE used to do. And that's what AEW pretty much has done. And I feel like for AEW, they need to continue focusing on the professional wrestling side of it. Yep. Stop going after former WWE guys. Create your own stars, establish your own stars, because that's where you're going to get the best results. Let's go back to the WWE Attitude Era. During the time, the reason why WWE beat WCW is because they went out and they created their own superstars. And with WCW, they were left with former WWE guys, just like AEW is doing right now. And I'm glad that a lot of these professional wrestlers are looking at AEW now as, yes, it's an option. But is it the only option? It's not.
Flight risk.
There's so much more, like there's ways to go out and bet on yourself, and I think that the more talent that are leaving WWE and not signing these long-term deals, working these limited dates, the more it's proving that right now wrestling is in a boom period where you can be successful and you don't even have to sign a contract. That's impressive.
Yeah, I agree. That's very impressive. That's why
even Top Dollar, former member of Hit Row, is making more money right now. Making more money in his career since leaving WWE. Mm-hmm. And he went out and he betted on himself. Even though he did sign a short-term deal with TNA recently. Congratulations on getting that bag. But at the same time, he is still out there betting on himself, going out, performing every weekend. And honestly, it's really opening up the door for a lot of professional wrestlers at the end of the day. And I'm glad that AEW now isn't the only alternative.
That's why I watch promotions like New Japan or TNA a lot, or Ring of Honor. That's why I watch promotions like that, because some of these WWE, a lot of you WWE stars, just because y'all got your name, y'all just living off the WWE side. Like, when y'all go to another company, man, y'all on your own. Like, It's like y'all starting over from the start. Like, y'all got y'all rep and stuff still, though. But the influence and power and everything, it's not going to come with you, man. It's going to be WWE side. Y'all going to have to prove all that on your own all over again. Y'all going to see if y'all still got it. That's why he mentioned Nick Nemeth earlier. He's a good wrestler, right? Nick Nemeth is a good wrestler. But now
great
that
wrestler.
One of the best today. But now that he's over in New Japan and TNA, he's out the box. Like, he's letting it, like, he's making classic after classic every single week now over there. Like, or Matt Riddle. He's making classic after classic every week now. Like, they bet it on themselves, and look at them. They're let out the box from WWE.
And they're not in AEW.
Yep. Mustafa Ali in TNA. Just like you mentioned. Out the box. X Division champion already. Like, come on, man. You got to know your worth and betting yourself. Coming over from WWE, man. Yeah, your reputation is there, but all your power and stuff isn't. Like, yeah, and then your reputation is not that good all the time either. Like,
and I just think, man, at the end of the day, I want AEW to succeed, but it's time to stop going out, getting these big free agents. You already have enough talented guys on your roster. Focus on that. And bring in some small guys like Motor City Machine Guns. I would love for them to go to AEW.
that's a win.
That's a great move. I want to see underrated guys like them getting the opportunities, not somebody that we've already seen on a big stage that's been in WWE before. And especially if you look at the track record of WWE guys that have left, went to AEW, didn't work out for them really, a lot of them. And at the end of the day, I want what's best for all of these professional wrestlers, sports entertainers, whatever you want to call them. I want what's best for them, and I feel like I'm glad that people are going out and they're betting on themselves because it's really opening the door up for a lot more people.
Right.
And that's what I'm going to leave it at.
Yep. You gotta, like Donnie just said, man. Like, you gotta know your worth too. At the end of the day,
Know your worth.
know your worth, because nobody's gonna say nothing for you. You gotta figure it out on your own. Because if you let somebody tell you something that's not true, or you're not living up to your full potential, you're literally like a walking zombie at that point. That's just it, man.
But is there anything else, Ricky, you want to talk about before we close off this week's episode?
Once again, congratulations, John Moxley, man. I'm really happy for you, John. I'm really happy for you. You can help New Japan higher up. Help them higher up. Like, help the power vacuum. Push these guys. That's it, though.
Hey, sometimes you gotta bring out the best in everybody.
Yep. If Moxley needs to hold that belt for a whole year, do it. As long as you get these guys to where they need to get. Either that or drop the belt back to Naito. One or the other. Gato, I know you know what you're doing over there in New Japan. So
Ricky knows best. But to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs out there, let us know in the comment section below your thoughts on all the topics that Ricky and I talked about on this week's special episode of the podcast. Don't worry, guys. Uncle Ben, the Lone Ranger, he will be back next week with me for 105. But to all the Maniacs, if you enjoyed this week's episode, make sure to smash that like button now. If you're not, We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, and you're listening to this episode wherever you get your podcast, give us a 5-star review, not just any review, a best one review, and download the episode. Give us a follow. If you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already over on the YouTube channel, we're doing live watch-alongs, we're doing predictions, we're doing wrestling content almost every single day. Recommend you to hit that subscribe button now, turn on the post notifications. That's where you get the best content for free. Links down in the description below. You can go follow Ricky and I over on our social medias and my other YouTube channel, Best One Donnie. I do toy hunts, I do toy reviews, all that fun stuff. And to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide, we are taking over. Peace.